SABC News reporter Sipho Kekana is on that story and joins us live from the High Court in Pretoria. Sipho, a good morning to you once again. I mean, let's talk a little bit about the inconsistencies that the court has picked up and why Mr. Mosia has been called back to court.
Good morning, lady. You are right. So we are expecting that Warrant Officer Thabo Mosia will be grilled by the defense in the Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial when the trial continues this morning. And you are right about those inconsistencies. You would recall that according to the evidence that was given by Mosia in court, he has told the court that when he first arrived on the scene, it was at about 20 past midnight on the 27th of October 2014. That was about 4 hours after Meyiwa had been shot and killed in that house. And he says he was on that scene for about 2 hours, about 20 minutes. He says 20 minutes before 3 a.m. He then left because he had a robbery and an arson cases to attend to. And he says when he returned to the Meyiwa murder scene, it was at about 6 a.m. in the morning. And he says, Colonel Tobeka Mhlahlo, this is the woman who later discovered that bullet projectile that was found on the kitchen countertop behind the glass jars. Now, according to Mosia, Mhlahlo arrived on the scene to find him there. So he was already on the scene when Mhlahlo arrived. However, after Mosia had given evidence, we then had sight of his pocketbook, which was brought to court. And according to that pocketbook, it says while Mhlahlo arrived on at 9:10 on that morning, Mosia only arrived at 25%. And now this would mean that when Mosia arrived, Mhlahlo was already on the scene. According to Mhlahlo, she has also testified to the fact that when she arrived on the scene, Mosia was already there. But the pocketbook, as I'm telling you now, that we have come to learn about, it says that Mosia only arrived on the scene more than an hour after Mhlahlo had already arrived. Now, this raises questions again on the credibility of his testimony, and also the fact that there is that bullet projectile that was discovered. So according to Mhlahlo, he discovered this bullet projectile in the company of both Mosia and Colonel Zwane, who were on the scene together with her. However, so what the pocketbook is telling us is that when she arrived there was no Mosia there. And she has told the court that these people were there when she arrived. So we are expecting that the defense will then again say, who put that bullet projectile there? Who brought that bullet projectile there? Was it planted? We are expecting that the defense will stick to that, will grill Mosia on that, to say your evidence the previous time was not correct. It was not in line with exactly what you recorded in that scene. And you'd recall that he also mentioned that he had left the scene to attend to an arson case as well as a robbery case. So, and in the pocketbook that we have, not much mention is made about those two particular cases. He's also expected to be taken to task. You'd recall that the defense previously accused him of leaving the scene to go and pick up evidence that he would then come back to the scene to plant, which was discovered by Mhlahlo. But we have now come to learn that if that pocketbook is anything to go by, we now understand that when Mhlahlo arrived there, Mosia was not there. And questions will be, when Mhlahlo discovered that projectile, who was in her company Did she arrive on the scene to find the scene just cordoned off without any police? Did she discover the bullet projectile by herself? So all those questions are expected to come up today when Mosia gives testimony. You'd recall that the last time he was in court, he complained about the number of times he had to be called back to court, saying that it was very strenuous on his health. He had complained that the amount of time that he was spending giving evidence on the stand was actually making him ill. He actually, in his own words, said, "I cannot do this anymore." And that's when he was actually pleading to the court to allow him not to come back to court. And that was when the defense was pressing, in particular, Advocate Zitulele Nxumalo, when he was pressing on the fact that Mosia needs to make available the pocketbook and the registration, the registers of that particular day as to how his day went about. And he started pleading with the court to say that I am not feeling well, I cannot do this anymore. In fact, giving testimony is making me more and more ill. And but the court has decided that Mosia has to be brought back. You recall that yesterday, just to recap, yesterday we heard about the gun that was found on this in accused number 3's room. We have come to learn that that gun, according to SBV, that gun was stolen in 2013 during a cash in transit robbery in Ruby Ridge. We have also had testimony from a traditional healer by the name of Lion Zwani, who also told the court about a man by the name of Sibia, who arrived with 2 other men looking for Muti because they were looking for employment. He told the court, this Zwani, that a few days later, this trio then returned back to him to say that the job that they had intended to do was done. However, somebody had sustained injuries during the commission of that job, that particular job. And he says, culturally, when people have experienced such misfortune, if somebody had died within the family, the people have to be cleansed. And he says he then had to cleanse these 3 people. But it was an anticlimax, I must say, for the state. It would seem the state had hoped that Zwani was going to point out at least one of the people sitting in the dock, one of the accused, as one of the people who had approached him. However, what Zwani then told the court was that the Sibia that I am talking about was tall.
Right.
And we understand that the Muzi Sibia, accused number 1 sitting in the dock, is one of the shortest among the 5 accused.
Okay.
So he gave that testimony, but pointed none of the 5 accused as some of the people who had approached him requiring to be cleansed after the job that they were, after somebody had been injured during a job that they were carrying out.
Yeah.
So, Naledi, as I'm taking to you right now, we are expecting that proceedings are going to start at about 10 with Mosia back on the stand to testify again on exactly what transpired on that evening when he arrived the first time 12 and left the scene and came back the following morning as to exactly what happened. And we are expecting all those questions on scene tampering and evidence planting to again come into sharp focus. Naledi.
Yeah, Sipho, of course, the fact that we're seeing Warrant Officer Thabo Mosia being called back into court today really is quite something, isn't it? I mean, this is going to be almost the 3rd time that he appears on this matter, considering that he had given testimony under the case and the trial being overseen by Maumera, again under Judge Ratama Kwatling, and now being called back. What's the likelihood that we could see more witnesses then that have been already appearing under Judge Kwatling appearing again?
Yeah. So, Naledi, I was just struggling to hear you a little bit there, but you are right. You recall that he took the stand the first time when the matter was being heard by Judge Chifiwa Maumela, and he spent on that stand more than 2 weeks giving testimony. And you'd recall at the time, that was when we still had the likes of Malisela Tefo and Timothy Tobani, as well as Andile Mshololo, who has been there from the beginning. So he had to come back this time around when the trial was rebooted with Judge Ratha Mokgwatleng then taking over. He had to come back and give those details again. He spent a couple of days on the stand giving testimony and telling the court about how he had conducted his investigation on the scene. He told the court that when he arrived on the scene, he immediately eliminated the people who were in the house as suspects. He had not treated them as suspects. He says he relied on their information about the two alleged intruders, and he then asked them how the whole scuffle had transpired. He says he followed their movements around the house. He was taken to task about why he had not taken DNA swabs from the kitchen door, and he told the court that he could not do that because he was told that that particular door was used a lot of times by the people who were there, and by the time he arrived, that the DNA swabs on that door would have been useless to him because a lot of people would have touched that door anyway. He was asked about not having taken DNA swabs from the bullet projectile that was found on the scene by Colonel Mhlahlo, and he says he just told the court that he didn't take any swabs on that bullet projectile. But we have also heard from a previous witness, that is the ballistic expert Christian Mangena, who told the court that there was no blood on that bullet projectile, and this is despite this bullet projectile having perforated Senzo Meyiwa's body before it is believed to have landed on this kitchen countertop. He has told the court that there were a number of reasons why there may have not been blood on that bullet projectile. Firstly, he says Meyiwa at the time was wearing a vest and a t-shirt, which could have wiped off the blood of that bullet projectile as it exited Meyiwa's body on his back. And he has also said the speed of the bullet could have also contributed on the bullet not having the blood, and the bullet projectile as well ricocheting off the kitchen door could have contributed to that bullet projectile not having any blood on it, and saying that it is possible that it would have been a futile exercise to try and get any DNA swabs from that bullet projectile. And this bullet projectile is going to be very key. The ballistic examinations by Mangena revealed that this bullet projectile was in fact fired from this firearm, which was found in accused number 3 Mtobisi Nqube's room when he was arrested in 2015.
Okay.
So we are going to hear more on that bullet projectile, and so what the defense we are expecting is going to be raising issues with is they may concede that you could be right that this bullet projectile comes from this particular firearm, but according to Tumelo Madlala, that is not the gun that he saw on the scene. Tumelo Madlala saw a gun with a bullet with a wheel, which the police believed it was a revolver. And you are right that this bullet projectile could be coming from this 9mm pistol, but you did not test this bullet projectile, so we did not know for sure if this bullet projectile was the bullet projectile that actually killed Meyiwa. We are expecting defense to bring all those issues up this morning when Thabo Mosia takes to the witness stand, and we will more of his investigation on the crime scene.
And we will of course take those proceedings live just after 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for keeping us updated. Of course, our reporter Sipho Kekana at the High Court in Pretoria. He also has been tweeting updates of what's coming out of the High Court in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, where he of course has confirmed to us this morning that we will see Warrant Officer Thabo Mosia again taking to the stand for further grilling in the trial.